guys can kind of see what I'm talking about with the transmission. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the all-new 2021 Lexus IS 350 F Sport all-wheel drive. With all that being said, let's get straight into the video. So under the hood, we have a Dacia aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission because this is the all-wheel drive model. Now, aside from that, fuel economy is 19 around town and then 26 on the highway, with power outputs being 311 horsepower and then 280 pound-feet of torque. Let's go over the front end of the IS 350. First off, this is finished in a color that's called Sonic Chrome, and it is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. You guys can see like there's a little bit of sunlight kind of coming through the trees right here. It's just one of the most beautiful colors I've ever seen in person. And then I love how it really accents all of the body lines here. And then also we've got these full LED lights with the LED Lexus check mark. Looks really sharp now with the IS 350. And then we do have parking sensors here on the front. We've got the Lexus logo that doubles as a sensor. There's a camera just up above it. And then I love how they blacked out the whole front grille. And then you've got a little bit more accenting down here. And then you can see just all the aggressive bodywork. Overall, this has to be one of the best looking Lexuses and just one of the best looking cars from a front end perspective, period. Now, coming around the side here, we've got two 35mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the front, and then two 65mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the back. Now, as for the design on the wheels, I think they look absolutely fantastic. They did a matte finish for the wheels, and it's just perfection. I've never seen a wheel that I've liked more than this on a stock car. And then I love the brake caliper right behind, how it's kind of dark just to kind of go with the rest of the theme of this car. We have our F Sport badge right there on the side, and then they blacked out the mirrors, but notice that it's kind of like cut in half with the chrome accenting. And other than that, here is your full side profile, which you guys can see. Just such a good looking car from every angle. Now, before we pop into the trunk, I do want to mention this car does come with remote start. You just have to press the lock button a couple times and hold it down. Thought I'd mention that because there's not an obvious remote start button. But you guys can see trunk space back here. And then we've got this bag of goodies, I guess, that comes with the car. But aside from that, you guys can see we've got the spare tire just underneath there. It's pretty cool that it does come with the spare. Don't worry, I'll get that back in place once I can use both my hands. But yeah, storage space is great. I love the opening. It's also really big, and that's all for the back. So yeah, until I open it back up. Now let's finish things up here in the rear of the IS 350. So first off, we have this beautiful low-profile carbon fiber spoiler on the back end. Definitely looks great. And then I love how sharp the rear LEDs are. And this is actually a giant LED light bar here in the back. I do plan on posting a nighttime review so you guys will be able to see what the lights look like at night. The light bar looks so cool. Got our F Sport badge there. We've got parking sensors all along the bottom portion here, and then we do have our circular exhaust tips with the diffuser there at the very bottom. And yeah, that's pretty much everything for the rear. And as you guys can see, this car does not have a bad angle. It literally looks sexy from every angle. Now here's the door panel in the rear. So first off, we got this really nice soft touch leather here with the nice stitching that goes all throughout, and then you can see the little wood trim right there. And then here are the seats in the back. So as you can see, you've got this really nice leather here with the perforated leather in the center, and then you've got the rivets down that portion. We do get some vents here for the rear, and we'll pop in, as always. What are those? But as you guys can see, I'm almost 6 foot and actually fit back here pretty well. Legroom, you already saw that was pretty good. Guess we get double legroom in today's video. Notice we got some cup holders there. Let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel in the front. So again, we've got really nice leather all throughout with the stitching that goes down that bottom portion. You can see more of that wood trim. We've got all of our window controls right here with the mirror adjustments. And you can see one of the speakers for the sound system. And then here are the seats at the front. So you guys can see really nice seats. You've got the full leather here with the perforated leather in the center. These seats are extremely comfortable to sit in, even over long journeys. F Sport plaque right there, which is kind of hard to see. There you go. And then you've got the adjustments on the side of the seat. Pedals look beautiful, and then the hood latch release, and then that's for the trunk, and then this is for the camera system, and then that's just for the trip computer. Oh, and if you're wondering, it's the Mark Levinson sound system. But let's pop in. So here's our steering wheel for the IS 350 F Sport. Beautiful wood trim here at the top. We've got nice perforated leather on either side. We're actually going to grab it so you get nice grip. And then we've got smooth leather at the bottom with our F Sport logo. Controls for the center stacks on the safety tech, cruise control. Nice paddle shifters there on the back. We've got our voice command phone controls, and then this is just all for the radio. You've got your stock for the lights and turn signal, windshield wiper stock on the other side, and that's all for the steering wheel. Here's the center gauge cluster with the IS 350, and yes, it's got the trick gauge cluster that moves from one side to the other, where you can scroll through different bits of information with the vehicle. So like you can see the range, for example, and then like on this other side, we can go and customize some of the stuff with the safety tech, and then you can press the pages button, and then it'll go back to normal. Now this does have some different drive modes. We've got our eco mode, and then if we push down the drive mode select, it'll put us into normal, and then there is a custom mode as well where you set that up. The coolest modes though are sport, and then Sport Plus. Sport Plus looks just like what you get on the LC500, just really cool in terms of the animation, and then it lights up as you get to redline, which you guys will see in the driving portion. And yeah, just overall definitely cool that they have that for the gauge cluster. Here's the infotainment system. First off, I'm going to pop it into reverse. You guys can see the backup camera. We do get a bird's eye view, and then you have the trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel. And notice that when you pop into drive, it just pops on with the infotainment system. But we do have a camera button, which if I press that, notice that it pulls up with that little camera view right there. And then the other thing that this does is if you are really close to pulling up to something, like the parking sensors are beeping off, then it'll actually pop on the front camera for you when you are in drive. I don't know if I can, I'm going to try to do this while filming so you guys can kind of see. We'll see if it'll, there we go. So you guys can see it beeps, throws on the front camera and says, "Hey idiot, do you know what you're doing?" And yeah, just a cool bit of safety tech. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, you can control it via a keypad, or it also doubles as a touchscreen. So whatever your preferred method is, then you can do that. I find that using both of them in conjunction kind of works the best. I use the shortcut buttons down below, but then I just use the touchscreen when I want to quickly go to things. But overall, the keypad works great. It's really easy to use. Actuation feels fantastic, and it's really direct as well. But then also the touchscreen is very responsive. So overall, it's a fantastic infotainment system. We've got some vents right here with our Lexus clock there in the center. Climate controls down here, which pretty interesting. They're sliders, so that's how you change the temperature, is with sliding. But then you can also just kind of like press it, and then notice it'll make a sound. But then if you slide it, it doesn't make a sound. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Analog controls for the radio right here. We do have heated and cooled seats, which I don't know if you guys can see because of the sun glare, which is crazy. But we do have heated and cooled seats. Okay, that's better. Now you guys can see the heated and cooled seats and then heated steering wheel. Now here's the shifter for the 6-speed automatic. It does have a manual shift function. And then this is our drive mode select. We also do get a snow mode, and then stability control, and that's the auto hold. And then this is all for the infotainment system, that whole keypad. And then the center console actually doubles as your wrist rest. Cup holders, and then if we open up the center console, storage space is pretty good. We've got nice stitching and leather on the dash right here, and then we've got pretty normal glove box setup, and then more nice, really soft touch leather right there at that portion of the dash. And then if we finish things up, we've got a pretty normal mirror. We do get a sunroof here at the top, which is pretty nice. Control for the sunroof on either side right there, and well, that's all for the top, folks. So here's our window sticker, and as you guys can see, again, the color is Sonic Chrome. But it comes with a ton of standard equipment, so feel free to freeze the frame if you want to see all of the standard equipment that this has from the factory. And then you can see the total MSRP right there, $56,790. Let's take her out and see how she drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the IS 350, and let me turn on the AC so you guys can actually hear me. Visibility over the hood is really good actually, and then here's through both of the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring, and then here's throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. So we are in the Sport Plus mode, and well, you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about with the transmission. I'm just gonna leave it in the automatic mode for today's driving. But aside from the transmission, the handling on the IS 350 is just absolutely amazing. If you guys are wondering, this road is at about 8,000 feet elevation roughly, and it's just a great driving road because it's got all of these twists and turns, and then obviously the change in elevation. They really need to make this road into like a mini racetrack for sometimes. I think that would be pretty fun. But aside from that, handling is absolutely fantastic. The brakes are actually pretty good as well, but again, the transmission just kind of, you guys can see it just doesn't, and I'll pop it into the manual mode so I can have it where I want it, but still it's not exactly, I wouldn't call it a perfect system by any means. And that's kind of our handling section. And hopefully you guys saw the gauge cluster, how it like lights up and gets really bright once you get close to redline, which is definitely a cool little thing to actually be able to see. But aside from the sporty driving with the IS 350, let's talk about the daily drivability stuff. So first off, on the highway, it's amazing, it's quiet. It also actually gets pretty good fuel economy. I was averaging like high 20s or something like that on the highway, which is pretty good for a sportier type sedan. You guys can see some of these corners are pretty sharp. And then aside from the highway, driving around town is fantastic. Even though the transmission is, well, does its thing, it does a really good job. Again, gets pretty good fuel economy. It's been like 100 plus degrees every single day, and I've been just full throttle with this car the whole time, and it's been doing great so far from a fuel economy standpoint. I mean, I just barely hit like half a tank after driving up this canyon, so it does good with fuel. Other stuff, comfort's great, ride quality is great, it's really smooth, and overall it's a great car. This is a great daily driver luxury car that has kind of a sporty edge to it. I love the look of the gauge cluster. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Lexus's styling with the gauge cluster. Everything on this car is great. The infotainment system is really easy to use while you're driving. The sound system sounds amazing. My only complaint with this car really is just the transmission. 311 horsepower. This engine just does a really good job overall, and I have no complaints. It sounds pretty good, and I like the response that it gives and everything. Just the transmission holds this engine back, and I feel like the acceleration on this car with the all-wheel drive would be so much better if it just had a quicker shifting transmission with different ratios. The ratios are a little bit too long, as you guys have been able to see with this. Like, I mean, second gear is so high, and I mean that's what happens when you have a 6-speed automatic, right? You're very limited. And so yeah, overall I think the IS 350 is a great luxury car. It looks fantastic, the suspension's great, the chassis is great, everything about this car is absolutely amazing. It just needs a better transmission. That's it. That's literally it. If it had a quicker shifting, more modern transmission, it would be amazing. But obviously some people love this transmission because it's super reliable, so it does have that going for it. So if you're looking for crazy transmission reliability, it's got that, but you do give up, you know, modern shift times and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much going to sum things up for the IS 350. It's a great luxury car with a little bit of a sporty edge, but it'd be sportier if it had a different transmission. Now that is going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Lexus IS 350 F Sport. And yeah, I'll see all of you guys in that next video.